of our chief guest and guest of honor. Let us welcome them with a round of applause. Once again, a round of applause. Our chief guest, Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji. Welcome our chief guest, Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji. Our guest of honor, Dr. Bhagwat Kishan Rao Karatji, Honorable Minister of State for Finance, Shri Raj Kiran Rai ji, Chairman IBA, Deputy Chairman, Honorary Secretary, Chief Executive IBA, Chairman, Managing Directors, MDs and CEOs, CEOs and country heads, Executive Directors, officials of member banks, and members from the media. I extend a hearty welcome to you all on the 74th Annual General Meeting of the Indian Banks Association and to the 75th anniversary of IBA. I now request Shri Rajkiran Rai ji, Chairman IBA, to escort the Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, to the dais. And also request Chairman to take his seat at the dais. I request Shri CHSS Malik Arjuna Rao, Deputy Chairman IBA, to escort our guest of honor, Dr. Bhagwat Kishan Rao Karatji, to the dais. And I also request you, sir, to take your seat at the dais. I now request Shri Dinesh Kumar Khara, Deputy Chairman IBA, Shri Madhav Nair, Deputy Chairman IBA, Shri Rakesh Sharma, Honorary Secretary IBA, and Shri Sunil Mehta, Chief Executive IBA, to kindly take their seats on the dais. It is my pleasure to request Shri Rajkiran Rai ji, Chairman IBA, to present a bouquet of flowers to Srimati Sitharamanji as a token of respect and appreciation. I request Shri CHSS Malik Arjuna Rao to present a bouquet of flowers to our guest of honor, Dr. Bhagwat Kishan Rao Karad, Honorable Minister of State for Finance, as a token of respect and appreciation. In true Indian tradition, before we start any auspicious function, there is the lighting of the lamp. May I now request Shri Rajkiran Rai ji to lead the Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs and Honorable Minister of State for Finance for lighting of the lamp. Other dignitaries on the dais are also requested to join them.
सरस्वती महाभद्रा महामाया वरप्रदा श्रीप्रदा पद्मनिलया पद्माक्षी पद्मवक्त्रका शिवानुजा पुस्तकभृत् ज्ञानमुद्रा रमापरा कामरूपा महाविद्या महापातकनाशिनी महाशया मालिनी च महाभोगा महाभुजा महाभागा महोत्साहा दिव्यांगा सुरवन्दिता महाकाली महाका
I now request Shri Rajkiran Rai ji, Chairman IBA, to deliver his welcome address and give an overview of the activities of the Indian Banks Association during the year. Over to you, sir.
Very good morning to everyone. Honorable Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, Honorable Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Bhagavat Krishna Rao Karad ji, Deputy Chairman IBA, Shri S.S. Mallikarjun Rao ji, Shri Dinesh Kumar Kara ji, Shri Madhav Nair, Honorary Secretary IBA, Shri Rakesh Sharma, Chief Executive IBA, Shri Sunil Mehta, fellow bankers, and ladies and gentlemen. I consider it as my privilege to welcome all of you and to address on this momentum occasion of the 74th Annual General Meeting of the Indian Banks Association. It also coincides with the 75th Foundation Day of the Association. Hence, it is a dual celebration for IBA. On this special occasion, we are indeed happy to have our Honorable Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, as the chief guest, and Dr. Bhagavat Krishna Rao Karad ji, Honorable Union Minister of State for Finance, as the guest of honor to grace this function. We are indeed privileged to have both of them for this important function of IBA. Thank you, Madam, and thank you, sir. Indian Banks Association was formally established on 26th September 1946 with 22 founding members. Over the last 7.5 decades, IBA has evolved from an association of small private sector banks of undivided India to discuss issues of common interest for mutual benefits to become the voice of the Indian banking industry. Today, IBA has 244 members consisting of banks, non-banks, financial institutions, and other institutions providing ancillary services to the overall financial sector. The association has played a very important and pivotal role for the banking sector, always striving to protect the larger interest of the banking industry. Being the body formed just prior to Indian independence, history of IBA is largely interlinked with many milestones of the Indian banking sector. It has witnessed the dramatic transformation of the Indian banking sector from a cluster of small private banks largely owned by business houses to a group of government-owned banks by way of nationalization. We also witnessed financial sector reforms of the 1990s and the structural transformation of the banking sector, and finally the digital transformation of the banks in the present form. From a humble beginning with just 22 members, with an idea to offer a platform to discuss issues of common interest, Over the last 7.5 decades, IBA has evolved as the voice of the Indian banking industry and a platform to deliberate on matters of concern, to evolve consensus in the larger interest of its member, and to initiate steps to achieve efficient resolutions. Completing 75 years of glorious performance is a momentous occasion for IBA and also to the entire banking fraternity. As Chief Executive IBA, Shri Sunil Mehta will be giving a detailed presentation on 75 years of journey. I will not discuss much about the same in the interest of time. For the banking sector, financial year 21 saw muted business growth due to curtailment of economic activities arising out of COVID pandemic. With the gradual opening of the economy, things are improving and all the key indicators of economic improvement have started showing encouraging signs. Going forward, we expect accelerated recovery. As for performance, improvement is visible across the banks. In terms of asset quality, improvement was visible with gross NPA coming down from 8.4 to 7.5% and net NPA from 2.9 to 2.4% in the year 21 over year 2020. Madam, I'm happy to mention that the banking sector played the desired key role in ensuring availability of financial resources to all productive and needy segments of the society. Comfortable liquidity position and accommodative stance pursued by RBI and several policy enablers from the government helped banks to play their role effectively during the stressful period. COVID-19 pandemic has brought in some challenges for the banking sector. IBA took up several issues of the banks needing policy dispensation, liquidity infusion, resolution framework for the COVID-19 related stressed sectors, etc. All these were duly addressed by the government and the regulator during the course of the time. As need was felt to have an institutional mechanism to achieve accelerated and optimum resolution of large stressed assets, in the interest of all stakeholders, in the budget for the year 21-22, government has announced setting up of asset resolution company and asset management company, a structure to aggregate the existing large stressed assets across the industry and then achieve optimum resolution with the help of professionals. During the course of the year, National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, NARCL, and India Debt Resolution Company have been incorporated. Government has supported this project by extending guarantee for the security receipts to be issued by the NARCL. IBA is closely working with the government on this project. We are optimistic about the success of these institutions and that the banking sector as a whole will be immensely benefited. IBA is also actively coordinating with member banks RBI on LIBOR transition front since 2019. Besides the guidance notes and fallback languages, we have concluded the discussion on alternative rate for Mumbai Interbank Forward Offer Rate. We have also organized several webinars on LIBOR transition for banks and corporates to create awareness, to sensitize them to prepare for the transition process. Government has formed an interdisciplinary group to enable smooth transition to post-LIBOR regime. IBA is also a member of this group. I am happy to mention, madam, that the transition process is going on the desired pace. In the case of agriculture, IBA prepared guidance note for financing farmers produce organization by banks for uniform adoption. We have also prepared the checklist for animal husbandry to cover dairy farmers under Kisan Credit Card Scheme. Since digital transformation is gaining traction, IBA focused on this aspect also. The pandemic has helped to hasten the adoption of digitalization at a greater phase. The share of digital transaction is increasing impressively. Banks are working on end-to-end digitalization of banking processes to enjoy the fruits of this transformation. End-to-end digitalization of trade finance documents is an area where the IBA is actively involved with the government. In this connection, IBA is engaged in developing EBG, Electronic Bank Guarantees, with the help of National E-Governance Services Limited, that is NESL, and SWIFT. DFS has initiated PSB reforms agenda that is called Enhanced Access and Service Excellence since 2017. IBA is associated with it right from its inception. By sharing the best practices among PSBs, EASE has enabled technology and data-driven risk assessment, prudential underwriting, setting up of loan management systems for faster processing and tracking, and introduced early warning signal systems and specialized monitoring, jointly offering banking services at the doorsteps of the customers. IBA is connected with the doorstep banking services right from its initiation. I am happy to mention the government has recently conveyed approval for improved family pension for public sector banks with effect from 1/4/2021 and for enhanced NPS contribution from 10% to 14%. I thank the Honorable Finance Minister for such a great initiative, ma'am. For an organization like IBA, members' help, cooperation, and active participation are essential to conceptualize, plan, and execute several of our initiatives. I am grateful to the IBA members, the bank's support, our work, and the representatives from banks who served in our committees for their valuable time and contributions. I am also grateful to the Reserve Bank of India, other regulators, and various other trade bodies who had interacted with us, helped us in resolving industry issues. I am sure with the help and support of regulators, members, and other trade bodies, we will be able to meet our goals. I will be failing in my duty if I do not extend our profound gratitude to our Honorable Finance Minister, the Minister of State, and the entire team of DFS who supported us when we were going through an extremely challenging period. Under their guidance, we could navigate through the challenges with comfort and ease. Once again, I thank all our members for their cooperation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your address and elaborating the activities of IBA. As you are all aware, today, IBA is celebrating its 75th Foundation Day, which is an important milestone. We therefore request our Chief Executive, Shri Sunil Mehta, to make a short presentation on IBA's 75 years journey.
This indeed is a great privilege for me to walk you through the IBA's journey for the last 75 years in the inspiring presence of our Honorable Finance Minister, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman ji, and our guest of honor, Minister of State for Finance, Kharaj Sahab, and our management committee members and the members of the IBA. Our chairman has already elaborated the activities of the IBA. I'll walk you through the memory lane. The vision statement of IBA is to work proactively for the growth of a healthy, professional, and forward-looking banking and financial service industry in a manner consistent with the public good. So the public good is in the back of the mind for the banking industry. The various stakeholders of IBA activities are the government. We closely work with the Ministry of Finance. We closely work with the Ministry of MSME. We closely work with the Ministry of Rural Development and implementing the various government-sponsored schemes. We closely work with the regulator in helping them, in proactively working with them, in designing the future policies for the banking industry. So RBI, our regulator as a banking regulator, and SEBI, we are having interactions on a regular basis. Our banks, the most important constituent of our body, the public sector bank, private sector bank, RRBs, small finance bank, foreign banks, cooperative banks, and all India financial institutions, they contribute in what IBA is today. Our industry institution, I think you all will agree that IBA has been a breeding ground for creating new institutions which are useful for the banking industry. MPCI is the mammoth example which facilitated the smooth transaction during the pandemic. NARCL, which is being formed, and we are in the process of getting a license from RBI. SLMA, the RBI has already mandated it, and the IBA has housed this entity. Then PSB Alliance, an initiative of the public sector banks in providing doorstep banking and the other collective services. And then FEDI. The FEDI was also conceptualized and created with the IBA. If you see the various milestone history of the IBA, spanning from 1946 to 2019, so I'll just walk you through some of the major events. From a very modest beginning with 22 members under Chairman Homi P. Modi on 26 September 1946 at Devkaran Nanji Building, Mumbai. So I think this building is displayed. This is the place where the IBA started its journey. Now it has become a mammoth organization with 244 members from public, private, foreign, cooperative bank, besides financial institutions and NBFCs. In 1958, the FEDI, that is Foreign Exchange Dealer Association, was constituted. In 1966, IBA represented 35 major banks and signed the first bipartite wage settlement with various bank employees union. So the settlement process has a history starting from 1966. In 1968, the IBA contributed a lot in creating Agriculture Finance Corporation. In 1971, we have evolved the ground rules and code of ethics, which is the genesis of BCSBI. In 1988, IBA set up the Bank Sport Board to promote sports and cultural activities among bank employees. In the same year, it instituted C.H. Bhabha Research Scholarship and Award for promoting research in banking. In 1990, we moved from Devkaran Nanji Building at Horniman Circle to Stadium House and finally to a present premises at World Trade Center in Mumbai. In 1993, we entered into a landmark agreement with the Workmen Union on computerization, because that was a time when computerization was being resisted and IBA played a proactive role in introducing computerization in the bank. In 1997, the SWIFT connectivity and launched Swadhan, a shared payment network system. In 2005, the Banking Codes and Standard Board of India was established with the active participation by the IBA. In 2008, NPCI was set up, and it was also housed in the IBA, and with the regulator in the back of it, we could set it up, which is now played a very vital role in digital transactions, and especially during the pandemic. In 2010, launch of CIBIL Detect, an IBA initiative aimed to prevent instances of external fraud. And there is a launch of national level awareness campaign on financial inclusion. In 2016, launched Bharat QR Code, that is a uniform QR-based payment across banks and the network operators. In 2018, marked the launch of Ease PSB reform agenda as an outcome of PSB Manthan and the Gyan Sangam. These were the brainstorming sessions conducted by the top executives of the banking sector to reform the public sector banks. Again in 2018, IBA took the responsibility of coordinating with the BBB and organized a leadership development program. Leadership development program is meant for senior executives of public sector bank for grooming them as to shoulder the top positions as EDs and MDs. IBA also contributed in the bank's perspective in the insolvency and bankruptcy code with the IBBI as a member of the bankruptcy law committee. So IBA has represented the bankers concerned during the formation of the IBC. In 2019, IBA drafted and circulated the Intercreditor Agreement, Model Agreement for availing services of business corporate, bank mitras, and the banking facilitators. A common web portal for auction of bank properties, commonly known as eBikray, was also launched under the aegis of IBA. Now see the last financial year, relevant year. So during last AGM period, the major achievement of IBA were recommendations on reducing turnaround time for MSME loans, revised model education loan scheme to suit out the aspiring students. Extension of interest subvention scheme for MSME for a uniform adoption and encouragement. Guidance note to financing farmers producers organization, the new concept for financing the farmer producers organization, played a key role in developing the BC registry portal and launched by RBI. So this was also actively participated by the IBA. Recommendations on personal data protection bill 2019 were also given by the IBA. Portal of concurrent auditors was also created. We negotiated zero fees with the NPCI for RuPay card and the UPI transactions for their easier adoption by the masses. We are already working on developing a EBG, that is electronic bank guarantee with NESL and SWIFT for digitalization of the trade finance transactions. We have also been instrumental in a 6 months extension from RBI for complying with the e-mandates on the cards. The RBI Committee on Resolution Framework, COVID-19 related stress, that is the expert committee commonly known as KV Kamath Committee. So IBA was a secretariat for that committee and CIB as a member secretary. The adoption of a common foundation training program for PSBs in consultation with CVC, because a basic induction course has been finalized for the early public sector banks for uniformity and adoption of the preventive vigilance modules. IB also played a key role to set up of a secondary loan market association, and as rightly narrated by chairman, LIBOR transition initiatives were also housed in IBA. IB also designed standing operating procedures for pre and COVID, the post-COVID lockdown operations. So that facilitated the entire banking industry in having a uniform protocol while operating during the pandemic time. Our suggestions for disruptions arising of COVID-19 were largely accepted by the RBI and proactively were announced. There was a webinar on corporate governance which was organized because IBA is actively playing a role in bringing the concept of corporate governance in the banking system. We invited some very important luminaries, and Mr. Narayan Murthy was one among them. There was an annual Banking Technology Award that was organized by IBA to promote the digital banking. Then annual Banking HR Conclave for ideal HR practices. Then periodic ancillary services. So IBA do activities for empanelment. We empanel transport operators, which is widely accepted by the banking industry as well as the other government bodies. We empanel forensic auditors for conducting investigations. We empanel security printers and agencies for specialized monitoring. On research and statistics type, we go for publications and the newsletters. FICCI and IBA jointly conduct surveys and which is released to the benefit of the members. Then IBA issues bulletins and LIBOR webinars is organized jointly with the Bloomberg. Now as international relationships, we participate in the CIBOS. We have MOUs with the various member countries. IBA is also a member of the International Banking Federation, and I must share with you that when we announced the steps taken by the Indian government as well as the regulator in keeping the economy going during the pandemic, it was very widely appreciated by the entire international community, banking community, and they lauded the role of the Indian government in bringing out the emergency line of credit, in bringing out the MNREGA payments, in providing the relief to the last mile by through direct benefit transfer, and that was appreciated by the entire international banking community. We also take foreign delegations to represent the banking industry. One major achievement for entire banking workforce, 11th bipartite settlement. So IBA as a negotiating body represented bank and has signed 11th bipartite wage settlement with various bank employees union. The latest 11th bipartite settlement in November 2020 for 8 lakh bank employees. The key initiatives, as EASE 4 is a transition year, as already informed by our chairman, Rajkiran Rai ji. The EASE 3 winners were announced, and the EASE 4 was launched by Honorable FM herself in a ceremony in Bombay itself. And IBA has expanded its wing, and we have recently opened a new office in Delhi, which was inaugurated by the Secretary DFS during the month of September itself. Now the initiative of NARCL, so that is a dedicated entity for resolution of NPL loans from the selling bank and the institution. This will help in pooling of stress assets under one umbrella, aiding faster decision making in resolution process and reducing the menace of legacy NPS. This is expected to be in majoritarily owned by public sector and 49% by private sector. This is a work in progress because registration has already been done, company has been incorporated, government has already come out with a guarantee, and we are awaiting for a RBI license, which may come sooner than the later. Now the key initiative, 2021 is PSB Alliance Private Limited. So a company has been formed as an under umbrella for public sector banks for providing various collective facilities. So under this, for banking convenience, doorstep banking was launched through universal touchpoints. This is also providing both financial and non-financial services to the customer in a safe and secure, sound and efficient manner, and a cost-effective manner. Now, let me share with you some of the video clippings during this journey.
Today, we are privileged to have our Honorable Finance Minister, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman ji, along with Secretary DFS, who is our mentor as well, Devashish Panda ji, our guide, Additional Secretary, Pankaj Jain ji, Amit Agarwal ji, and we all are here for release of E-Score.
I think I would like to thank the IBA, which has now taken upon itself, and I think that is the ultimate testimony to the success of the agenda, that the agenda has moved from DFS to IBA.
In the first phase, we are going to cover the 100% provided asset. So the 100% provided asset means in the books of the bank, whatsoever will be the recovery will be an incremental addition to their capital. Suppose an asset, the example you quoted is a 1,000 crore asset, and suppose its valuation comes about 200 crore. I'm taking for example say.
Yes.
So out of 200 crore, 15% will come as a margin money from the ARC. So that is 30 crore will straight away come as a cash to the bank, and then remaining 85% will come as a security receipt which are guaranteed by the government. Now the advantage with this is, if the security receipts are guaranteed by the government, the RBI regulation permits that these security receipts can be traded in the market.
Okay.
So far, entire banking system was holding these security receipts because there was no taker in the market because of the imperfection in valuation and the challenges in aggregation.
Okay.
But with the aggregation of the debt, this 85% of the security receipts which have a government of guarantee will have a floor price of the government guarantee value and accordingly can be traded into market. So this will help in creating of the secondary market for the security receipt. Yes, it will be paid by the NARCL because NARCL, yes, that is what is proposed.
With this, the journey so far has been shared with you. As a future roadmap, our aspiration is resurgence of economy post-pandemic. As a banking sector, we consider it as our responsibility to work together to see that impact of pandemic is minimized on our economy. We go for a credit growth, we support the economy so that economy research in the shortest possible time. End-to-end digital lending is a work in progress. I think IBA is closely working with a few institutions, and we are facilitating our member banks for end-to-end digitization of the loan products. Then market research-based proactive analysis for the future of banking. These are the aspirations. Our focus areas are leadership and talent development activities. The IBA has already initiated the process with BBB. We have roped in the IIM Bangalore as a key training institution and Egon Gender as a knowledge partner, and they are facilitating the development of the top management team. The corporate governance and compliance framework for the Indian banking, we are closely working with the regulator, and enhancing customer experience and the redressal mechanism is our focus area. This is our management team, and you are all fully aware. Mr. Rajkiran Rai as chairman, Mr. Mallikarjun Rao as vice deputy chairman, Mr. Dinesh Khara as deputy chairman, Mr. Madhav Nair as deputy chairman, and Mr. Rakesh Sharma as honorary secretary. Thank you all for your participation today, and I'm extremely thankful to Honorable Madam for sparing her time and giving us this opportunity to present ourselves today. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, sir, for being here, and I take my seat.
Thank you, sir, for taking us down memory lane. These 75 years would not have been possible without the support, contribution, and encouragement of all our members. I now invite our guest of honor, Honorable Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Bhagwat Kishan Rao Karatji, to address the members. Over to you, sir.
आज आईबीए की 74वीं एजीएम और 75वां फाउंडेशन डे के अवसर पर प्रमुख अतिथि के रूप में उपस्थित भारत सरकार की माननीय वित्त तथा कॉरपोरेट मंत्री माननीय निर्मला सीतारमण जी मैडम, आईबीए के अध्यक्ष राजकिरण राय जी, उपाध्यक्ष CHS मल्लिकार्जुन राव, स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के चेयरमैन तथा इस संगठन के उपाध्यक्ष श्री दिनेश कुमार खारा जी, मानद सचिव माधव नायर जी, राकेश शर्मा मुख्य कार्यकारी अधिकारी, और जिन्होंने अभी प्रेजेंटेशन दिया ऐसे चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव माननीय सुनील मेहता जी, देवियों और सज्जनों, सबसे पहले मैं भारत बैंकिंग उद्योग के उत्कृष्ट सेवा के लिए 75 साल पूरे किए, इसलिए मैं आप सभी का अभिनंदन करता हूं। इस संगठन का शुरुआत 1946 में 22 बैंकों के साथ हुआ था और अभी 2021 में इसमें 244 बैंक ऑर्गेनाइज होके हमारे देश में काम कर रहे, और ये काम जो हो रहा है बहुत ही अच्छा तरीके से हो रहा है, इसलिए मैं आप सभी का अभिनंदन करता हूं। मैं आज आपके साथ उपस्थित हूं और बहुत खुश हूं, क्योंकि सरकार द्वारा, भारत सरकार द्वारा जो कुछ निर्णय ले जाते हैं वो निर्णय को आप कस्टमर के हित में पूरे भारत देश में लगाना का कोशिश करते हैं और अच्छी तरह से काम करते हैं। और इस 75 साल गिर रहा है, इसमें जो आप आए हैं, इसलिए मैं भी आप इसके साथ हूं, इसलिए मैं आप खुश हूं। अभी 2 साल से हम कोविड-19 के खिलाफ लड़ रहे हैं। इस कोविड-19 के खिलाफ लड़ते समय हमारे अर्थ मंत्री माननीय निर्मला सीतारमण जी मैडम, इन्होंने अलग अलग पैकेज जाहिर किए थे, और ये अलग अलग पैकेज जिसमें आत्मनिर्भर भारत के अलग अलग पैकेज थे, गौर गरीब जनता के लिए भी कुछ मदद किए, महिलाओं के लिए मदद किए, और इस सब मदद करते समय इस सब पैकेज का सब बैंकों ने अच्छी तरह से काम करके सब जनता के तरफ ये पैकेज पहुंचाए, इसलिए मैं आपका अभिनंदन करता हूं। और उतना ही नहीं तो हमारी एक इकोनॉमी, भारत देश की इकोनॉमी अच्छी तरह से संभाली, इसलिए आप अभिनंदन के लिए पात्र है। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री माननीय नरेंद्र जी मोदी के नेतृत्व में हमारी इकोनॉमी $5 ट्रिलियन बनाना है, और इसीलिए हमें सक्षम गाइड करने वाले हमारे अर्थ मंत्री माननीय निर्मला सीतारमण मैडम जी है। और जैसे प्रधानमंत्री का कहावत है कि सबका साथ, सबका विकास और सबका विश्वास, इस मंत्रों के साथ इस देश में रहने वाले सब लोगों को साथ में लेके हमारी इकोनॉमी बढ़ाना है। इसीलिए हम सब लोगों ने पर्टिकुलरली पीएसबी के चेयरमैन को 16 सितंबर 2021 में एक औरंगाबाद शहर में मंथन आयोजित किया था, और इस मंथन में डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शंस और फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन्स, इसके ऊपर विस्तार से चर्चा हुई। कुछ टेक्निकल गाइडलाइंस फैकल्टीज को बुला के मार्गदर्शन लिया और बहुत सारे डिसीजन लिया है, वो मैडम को मैं जल्दी ही सबमिट करने वाला हूँ। अभी लॉकडाउन के टाइम जो डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शंस को बढ़ावा दिया बैंकों ने, जो डिसीजन का, वो भी महत्वपूर्ण है। और अभी जब हम प्रेजेंटेशन देख रहे थे तो ईज रिफॉर्म्स ये बैंकिंग में बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट है। ईज रिफॉर्म्स में नंबर 1 और 2 तो 2017 से चल रहा है, लेकिन अभी जो ईज रिफॉर्म की जो अवार्ड दिया है वो भी महत्वपूर्ण है। ईज रिफॉर्म्स 3 और 4 बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से हर बैंक में, पर्टिकुलरली मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि कोऑपरेटिव रहो या अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक रहो या डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोऑपरेटिव में, उसमें कैसा अप्लाई करें, इसलिए भी थोड़ा कोशिश करने की जरूरत है, ऐसा मेरा वैयक्तिक मत है। ये बात सब करते समय मुझे डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन के बारे में थोड़ा बताना चाहता हूँ। ये डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन में कुछ अकाउंट्स में हैकिंग करके फ्रॉड हो जाता है, तो इसीलिए भी हम टेक्नोलॉजी सुधार करके ये फ्रॉड नहीं होना चाहिए, ये अकाउंट का हैकिंग नहीं होना चाहिए, और उसी के ऊपर इंश्योरेंस भी कैसा दे उसी के ऊपर भी सोच करने की जरूरत है। फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन में जनधन अकाउंट हो या जनधन अकाउंट, जो नेशनलाइज बैंक में अच्छी तरह से अराउंड 43.40 करोड़ लोगों का जनधन अकाउंट है, तो वो जनधन अकाउंट कुछ लोगों में और जो पर्टिकुलरली एस्पिरेशन डिस्ट्रिक्ट में उसको बढ़ावा कैसा दिया जाए, उसको भी ऊपर काम करने की जरूरत है। ये सब काम करते समय जो प्राइमरी सेक्टर में जो लोग काम करते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली किसान होंगे, फेरी वाले होंगे, विक्रेता होंगे, मजदूर होंगे और पीपल फ्रॉम द विलेजेस, इन सब को बिजनेस करते समय जो कोलैटरल जिनके पास नहीं है उसके लिए मुद्रा लोन की जो योजना है, तो मुद्रा लोन की योजना को प्रभावित कैसे किया जाए, और वो करते समय जो हम लोन दे रहे हैं तो उसी के लिए कैसा यूज करते जाए, इसके ऊपर भी हम लोगों ने ख्याल देने की जरूरत है। इसके बाद सोशल सिक्योरिटी स्कीम्स, जिसमें 3 महत्वपूर्ण चीज है। उसमें से एक बैंक अकाउंट जो जनधन योजना से होता है, जो इंश्योरेंस है, इंश्योरेंस में पीएम सुरक्षा योजना बीमा योजना हो या पीएम जीवन ज्योति योजना हो, और तीसरा इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर जो है जो पेंशन योजना, जो अटल पेंशन योजना है, ये सब तीनों चीज फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी के माध्यम से इसमें सुधार लाने की जरूरत है और ज्यादा से ज्यादा काम करने की जरूरत है। अल्टीमेटली जो जाम ट्राइनिटी है उसके ऊपर से हमारे इसमें बहुत ही बदलाव आ सका है, और डीबीटी ट्रांसफर के लिए महत्वपूर्ण जाम ट्राइनिटी है, हम लोग उस पर अच्छे काम कर रहे हैं। ये सब करते समय सभी समाज को लेकर हमें चलना है। पर्टिकुलरली गरीब जो है उसको भी मदद कैसे हुए, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी का सपना है कि गरीब से गरीब लोगों तक हमें पहुंचना है, और ये हम लोग करने में और प्रयास लेने की जरूरत है। ये सब करते समय मैं आप सबको धन्यवाद दे दूंगा, क्योंकि प्रधान मोदी जी के सपनों का नया भारत हमें बनाना है। हमें ये भारत जो नया भारत है विश्व गुरु बनाना है, और ये विश्व गुरु बनाने के लिए बैंक क्षेत्र भी अच्छा काम करे और सबको विश्वास में लेके काम करे, और सब एक भारत विश्व गुरु माननीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में बने, ऐसा मैं आशा व्यक्त करता हूं। और इतना ही कह के मुझे यहाँ बुलाया आपके मिस 74th जनरल बॉडी में मुझे समय ज्ञान दिया, इसलिए मैं आपका आभार व्यक्त करते हुए मैं मेरे शब्दों को विराम देता हूं। धन्यवाद।
We sincerely thank you, sir, for your message and insight to the bankers. Ladies and gentlemen, the much awaited moment has arrived. We are privileged to have our chief guest, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, to grace this occasion. I now invite the Honorable Chief Guest to deliver the keynote address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon and namaskar to all the office bearers of the IBA, my colleague Dr. Karad, and all members of the IBA, executives of the banks, media, and all invited guests. I first thank you for having me here on this very landmark occasion, where you're having your 75th annual general body and also marking 75 years of having been founded. Not very many organizations or associations have the fortune of having their course of establishment and lifespan running parallel to that of its own countries. So India's 75th anniversary after independence and your existence 75 years, beginning 46, seem to run parallel, and that is where your presentation has very nicely pointed out the various milestones which align with Indian economic development taking its own course with different shades at different times, but you have always kept in alignment with that, and therefore several of your milestones match with the milestones of Indian economic history. And therefore, I think going further, you're going to be deriving the benefit of greater vibrant economy that India is becoming, as much as contributing to that. And it is in that context I recall that sometime in November 2020, when Prime Minister was addressing the Bloomberg third annual fund lectures, he had said that one, because of the pandemic and post-pandemic, there needs to be a change in very many ways in which we have lived. A change in mindset is what is required. A reset is required. For revival, we need the change in mindset and change in the way in which we do our businesses. And therefore, that reset is what is going to now probably occupy all our minds. At least it certainly does occupy the mind of those of us who are in the government. So I would think in that background, when we are meeting today, I would only rightly start my address to you with a homage to be paid to all those among you, your colleagues, your staff, who through the pandemic served the nation, but some who couldn't come out successfully from the pandemic itself. So those who lost their lives during the pandemic in harness, I pay my respects, because this is one of your, probably the first one after the second wave also. So I do pay my very humble homage to those who have served, but also suffered because of the pandemic, but unfortunately couldn't survive it. And I'm sure the IBA would do everything that it takes to support their families and keep them spirited and morally sound, because the loss is irreparable, and in the condition in which it happened is also something which generations after us also cannot forget. Again, one of the major challenges, particularly during the pandemic, which you as bankers have faced, is the very big agenda that the government had in having the amalgamations of banks done. Although it happened prior to the pandemic, actual amalgamation exercise happened during the pandemic, even as you were rushing to help those who were suffering in far-flung and remote areas of the country. But it is remarkable, and I again say this in a great sense of appreciation, that the amalgamation exercise, even as it was undertaken during the pandemic, has not caused inconvenience to the customers. You have ensured that the amalgamation exercise would happen. Customers will not be put into any kind of difficulties, particularly in an era where everything is kept digitally. You made sure that the 2 or 3 banks which were amalgamated together had their systems speak to each other in such a way that there were no aberrations. And therefore, look at the challenges that you as bankers have faced. Customers have faced different kind of challenges. You were also working together with them, but you have taken the government's agenda of providing relief to the customers, some physically even, in spite of the direct benefit transfers, and kept yourself available during the pandemic, ensured, even as that was happening, the amalgamations become a successful exercise. I honestly do appreciate the way in which you made sure that the amalgamation happened without much of a friction, discomfort, dissatisfaction of the customers. You took care of all of them. An amalgamation, after all, is a very important exercise, even as I'm talking to Indian Bankers Association, because the way in which the economy is shifting to a different plane altogether, the way in which economy together with the industry is also looking at various very different ways of adapting to a post-pandemic era, there are ever so many challenges. And in fact, even before the pandemic, one of the driving force for the amalgamation was that India needs a lot more banks, but a lot more big banks. In fact, Dinesh Kara is here, Chairman SBI. I would say this before him. India needs at least 4 different SBI-sized banks. So one of the driving force was for the amalgamation that we need to scale up banking. We need to scale up banking to meet the new changing and growing requirements, but that was thought of even before the pandemic. Now, all the more reason why we would need 4 or 5 more SBIs in this country. So even as you're here marking your 74th annual general body meeting, but your 75th year coinciding sooner with India's 75th, I want you all to spend a lot more time, even as you do your daily chores of keeping your banking activity, to think about futuristically what Indian banking has to be like. Immediate future and the long-term future. Immediate future, of course, you know what are the immediate requirements, whether it is the transition away from LIBOR, and many such you've already shown in your focus area, in the way in which you're going to prioritize. But India's banks, post-corona, if you're looking at a future plan, will have very many things which are unique to you. You may not in that respect be comparable with every other country's developed or developing country's banking contours. So your contour will have to be very unique to India, where there has been an extremely successful adaptation of digitization. So you're very unique in that, and I say it with a certain confidence and responsibility. Because during the pandemic, we saw how banks in very many countries could not reach out to their clients for sheer want of the extent of digitization that we have achieved in this country, which they have not as yet. I'm sure they're racing to achieve that. The DBT program of the government was successful only because the digitized way in which you have dealt with your accounts and the banking operations meant that it was fine for somebody in Delhi to press a button and the money to go through y'all to the accounts of small, medium, and big account holders. That level of digitization not being elsewhere, but you having it, but yet in an India where the disparities are wide. Your experience for the future will have to be tempered down by these realities. Even today, there are very many districts in which even big panchayats don't have a physical bank. I'm not saying that everywhere you need to have physical brick and mortar banks, not at all. Digitization has saved a lot of cost for you, even without compromising on the service you provide. But even then, there are such parts of this country which cannot but have at least one brick and mortar. There need not be a competition among you all to say, if X is there, I should also be there, Y should also come in. Not necessary to have a competing presence in physical form. Your customer could be in a village where there's no bank at all. You'll still service them. But even given that, there are very many districts in which not even one banking institution is physically present. With a sense of rationalized way of approaching banking, with optimum utilization of your digital, you'd still think there are areas which need your presence. I would on this day request the IBA to access the digitized or the mapping of every district. It's not beyond you. I'm sure your SLBCs will be able to provide this for you. Get a digitized mapping of the branch and their location by district. You'll understand the large gaps which exist with absolutely no presence. With optical fiber extension program which the government is doing, rapidly reaching out to very many regions, and I think of the 7.5 lakh panchayats that we have, if I remember the number, almost 2/3 have already been given optical fiber connections. I would think the IBA, looking at this mapping by district of the presence of branches, should among you all decide where would you actually need to be physically present and where you still be able to do a good extensions of service without being physically mapped, but that should be your exercise. Days have gone when, whether it is Dr. Karad or me, who entertain every request of every member of parliament who say, I want a branch in this village. We gently tell them it's possible to have banking service even without the branch physically being present, but there are yet heavy economic activity dominant areas in which not even one bank prevails. So I would think a good rationalized approach would help in actually making a sense of the government's attempt for financial inclusion. Jan Dhan account was a major step, and we providentially saw how it came of help during the pandemic. But you should now be able to see the centers of economic activities, be it completely a rural pocket, but if the economic activity is strong there, wouldn't you think there should be some kind of a presence? And I repeat this point only because I've had a very persuasive member of parliament come to me and argue with me with a very positive attitude, and highlighted how in that particular region where he is requesting for a bank, so many agriculture driven activities happen, trading happens, wholesale merchandise happens there, all agricultural. So you really don't have a very urbanized setup, but hugely successful transaction happen, and they have to go miles to search for even a bank. Would they need a physical presence is a different question, but there is a very classic case of such things being highlighted, and it is that which I would want you to give priority. So an immediate future and a long-term future, and a long-term future where it is going to be largely driven by digitized processes. And therefore, although I did say that in the amalgamation process, your systems have spoken to each other, there wasn't a problem of those amalgamating banks. And I remember the Secretary Banking at that time, Sri Rajiv Kumar, telling me that we've ensured that the amalgamating banks do have their systems in such a way that they can align with each other. However, that's not going to be enough. Beyond the amalgamated banks, between other existing banks, your systems should speak to each other. You cannot anymore be in digital silos. So I would want, whether it's a private banks or public banks, recently amalgamated, those which were not amalgamated, those which are continuing to be singly on their own, all of your systems should be speaking to each other. So I would think that's one of the areas in which you would give some more time to plan up and make sure that bridge is crossed. I know post Gyan Sangam, a lot of rapidly positive steps have been taken, and many of which have been accounted here. But I would thank the IBA for having come together in establishing the National Asset Reconstruction Company and the Debt Reconstruction Company Limited, both of which working together are going to be able to cull out the NPAs, restructure them somewhat, and be able to sell them out. It's a formulation which has saved us from, one, imitating something which all of us were averse to, in the sense, at least for its name. This is not a bad bank. It was fine for the United States of America to have a bad bank. Eventually, we might be doing the same exercise, but because it's bank driven and because it is driven with a sense of having to clear up quickly, you've given yourself such a framework which is going to help in speedily disposing them off with responsibility, and therefore incentivizing yourselves with time consciousness is a formulation which you gave yourselves, and therefore which I think will work and work speedily. Banks are today less burdened because their books are cleaner. And as a result, as I said in the parliament, they were able to go and raise monies from the market. And I have an absolute selfish interest in praising this particular aspect, because I would think the burden on the government to recapitalize you will be far lesser. And that is the way to bring in professionalism in the banks. And you are respected for that. No business can happen without borrowing. I'm sure you will understand that. You understand that better than I do. If you raise it on your own, rather than be recapitalized by the government every now and then, the entire mind change which Prime Minister talked about, change in mindset to the banks which are now wanting to be a lot more professional. You can be, because this is a government which has not called you on the phone to say, give loan to so and so, give loan to so and so, all of which were going to become NPAs. We have not done that to even one bank. So it's absolutely the right time to become professional. Your valuations will have to be absolutely done. Laser sharp precision should be applied. And therefore, when you go to the market, you're giving yourself the best of your values and therefore be able to raise the right kind of amounts you want at the right cost. One other matter on which I'll honestly praise the IBA is the way in which you've quickly come up with at least 8 banks joining together in the account aggregator framework. Absolutely a need of the hour. Financial inclusion cannot happen if credit doesn't reach those who otherwise struggle to come and prove their worthiness to the banks. This is going to make you give different, almost tailor-made portfolios to people who need it. And people are going to be able to share the data on their choice and not compelling. There's no compulsion on the customer, but yet he's able to use the digital data to share it with you. And as a result, I think the future of credit outreach can happen throughout the year, happen through the system, and there need not be any more the credit outreach which you did so well in October 2019, and again that which I've given you a request saying do it from this October as well, will be now in the future history. If your account aggregator exercise, that framework is effectively put to use, you don't need credit outreach. Credit will be available on tap without worry for even small customers who reach you. So in other words, the government is doing everything that it requires. The RBI is with the government in helping get such frameworks, such quick decisions happen so that the digital system through which you are running the banks today have more and more outputs coming which will make sense for the people. So if in the socialist era you had to nationalize the banks and say you will do everything which the government wants you to do in terms of reaching out and sending the schemes, even now the reaching out and government schemes have a role because you still want those things to reach the people. But because of the digitization and because the way in which government together with RBI are helping you with the protocols, with the frameworks, you are able to now see that the nature of work is changing, although the objective is the same. The banking facilities, which should be inclusive, is the singular goal. Technology, of course, ages fast. What you think you're getting today is literally the latest, will be outdated within a year or so. So you have to constantly now provide yourselves with such resources which are going to help you to update them rather than remain, outdated and make the customers wonder if it is really serving his purpose. When I insisted on looking at the prevalence of banks in some very difficult areas, in some districts with no presence at all, it was because you're aware that we have given ourselves an export target of 2 trillion by 2030, in which, of course, 1 trillion is merchandise goods export, and the other 1 trillion is going to be service exports. In a changing world, in a rapidly changing world, the way in which businesses have to adapt to the demands of the customers outside, and the way in which many businesses are relocating themselves post-pandemic, there shall be a lot of challenges in terms of the ways in which you're going to look at a customer's need. If emphasis in the government is for export, and if this is the kind of target, 400 billion within a year being the target, it cannot happen unless banks are going to be nimble. Identify your export customers. Make sure you understand the nature of their business. Make sure the countries to which they're exporting. And therefore, you need to have a lot more understanding of each of the businesses. A couple of years ago, the gripe was that MSMEs and their requirements were never understood because you looked at them as only a cameo of larger businesses, which they were not. It took you some time, but you did change and understood the needs, and the cash flow structure of an MSME was different, and therefore you had to cater to them with a different kind of approach. Similarly, I would think now that there's a rapid relocation of businesses from countries outside to India, each of their requirement will be unique to them. And even that requires a lot of understanding. You need a lot of specialists who can come at least part-time and be with you as consultants to understand the business requirements, the credit requirements, the money flow requirements. So all this will have to be given a lot of attention. Otherwise, you will probably be left behind, and there can be some players who can go forward, which you can't afford. However, even as I talk about this, I will go back to one of the pet themes of mine, which is the eastern region of this country. The eastern region of this country has, as you know, adequate and more than adequate CASA. But there's no way in which credit is going out there. There are no takers for the credit. I'm visiting Bihar, I'm visiting Orissa, I'm going to visit Assam, only with an intention of seeing how best there can be an interface between industry and banks so that that disparity which exists, CASA much more than what you lend in the eastern region, and the southern and the western region where you need more and more money for funding your credit needs. This disparity can be absolutely bridged only by banking service. It is only you, and any number of government's programs is not going to be able to address this issue because it is you who are a catalyst. Keep those CASA, but look at the ways in which you can lend more in those regions. I'd already mentioned probably a few things about digitization, but in the payment world today, Indian UPI, the Unified Payment Interface, has actually made a very big dent, meaning impression. A RuPay card, which was not really as glamorous as any other foreign card, and I understand the foreign cards give you a good lot of business. But a RuPay card today is acceptable in so many different parts of the world. And it is symbolic of India's payment, digitized payment, intentions of futuristically looking at India and payment modes. In a pandemic time, it has come of help. But after that too, I think today the world understands the ease of doing payments with these kind of digitized modes. And I would think fintech understands that the UPI is actually its backbone. UPI actually is the backbone to fintech, and for UPI, it is you who will have to give the flesh and blood. You have to strengthen UPI. I've spoken a few things. Coming to the end, I would say, commercial banks and their role, please look back at what your core business is. The government is coming up with the DFI, Development Finance Institution. And even as we frame the act, we have enabled DFIs to be in the private sector as well. So one DFI run by the government is not going to be able to meet India's developmental needs. Yes, we need a government-supported DFI because there are ever so many large government-funded projects also. But there is a possibility, and that possibility for having development finance institutions in the private sector also, for which we have made enough provisions. And I hope there will be good competition between the government's DFI and the private sector DFIs, because eventually money should be available at competitive prices. Banks and communication is the last wish that I have. Corporate communication in banks need a lot of sprucing up. I'm sorry to say this on a day when you're celebrating your 75th Foundation Day. The communication world is a lot more agile, 24/7. They don't wait for Friday. Every Friday I give you a press release. They don't wait for that. You need to be real time. The good work you're doing will have to be put out through various different ways. Today, the world is benefited by the various different mediums of communication. I'm sure your corporate communications teams are adept at using all of them, because you need not so much to market yourselves, but to say that you're available with so many different portfolios. Why wouldn't a customer be attracted to somebody who tells them upfront, this is what I have for you, come over? So I would appeal to you and request the IBA to dedicate at least one little sitting among yourselves to see how best you can communicate better. Don't just depend on those, all right, we also give mudra loans, we also have reached so many different households. That's also to be done, but you've got to be a lot more imaginative, creative, and get out of the mindset. I probably am saying this for the second time, the socialist era mindset. You have to be professional. You have to be professional every way. Communication is one such a thing, which reveals that you're a lot more today open to a very India-infused free market economy. So with those words, I hope I've not sounded as if I've lectured to you, but I've probably ended up doing that. But thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And we are at a very critical stage of the Indian economy, resetting, looking at itself as a very large, robust economy. And you're actually the backbone for it. So IBA, I wish, rises to this occasion and provides India the best of financial services. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Guest, for your insightful address and sparing your valuable time for the benefit of our distinguished audience. We also appreciate your words of encouragement on the 75th anniversary of IBA. Thank you, Honorable Chief Guest, for remembering the bankers who lost their lives during this pandemic. Truly, our bankers have played an important role and have risked their lives during this period. Thank you once again, ma'am. We at IBA will definitely undertake the task you have mentioned. We wish you a very pleasant day. I now request Shri Rajkiran Rai ji, Chairman IBA, to hand over a small memento to our Honorable Chief Guest, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji. I also request Shri C.H. S.S. Malik Arjuna Rao, Deputy Chairman IBA, to hand over a small memento to our guest of honor, Dr. Bhagwat Kishan Rao Karaji. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now call upon Shri Dinesh Kumar Khara, Deputy Chairman IBA, to purport a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, and also the chief guest of today's event, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharamanji, Honorable Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Karad, members on the dais, other members on the dais, and dear bankers friend. Of course, it's a milestone event in the history of the Indian banking system when we are celebrating the 75th Foundation Day of IBA. The moment has gained even more importance with the presence of Honorable Minister of Finance and also the Minister of State. Perhaps the year which has gone by, the last 18 months, have been the most trying times in the history of human mankind. But at the same time, the challenges which are faced by the banking system, I think, were very well understood and recognized by the Government of India too, when they came forward under the guidance of our Honorable Finance Minister to provide the relief and support to the most vulnerable sectors of the economy. I think that kind of understanding of the banking system and the government, it goes a long way in mitigating the hardships of economy, and as well as it helps in taking out the pain from the system as well. So for that, I sincerely thank Honorable Finance Minister, and also would like to place on record the guidance which we keep on receiving on an ongoing basis. Maybe it is in terms of ease, which is essentially for the benefit of all the bankers. The merger and amalgamation, which was attempted essentially to strengthen the banking system and to strengthen the backbone of the economy. And even the recent guidance which we have just now in her speech, she has very well articulated the need for banks to be professional, the need for banks to be ahead of the curve when it comes to the payment system, and also the challenges which have been opened up through the account aggregator mechanism, and how we need to be, the banking system has to be ahead, and how do we need to collaborate with the fintechs and see to it that we continue to create value for all stakeholders. Also, I think it is the human aspect which was touched upon, and for which we from the banking system really are grateful to you, ma'am, for acknowledging the fact that many of our fellow colleagues have lost their lives during the pandemic, just to ensure that the wheel of economy keeps on moving. I think it goes a very long way in terms of your statement having made on the 75th day. It will be a bit of a relief for all those who have lost their near and dear ones. I think while we celebrate some milestones, we have a path going forward, which has been very well articulated by Honorable Finance Minister. And I once again thank her on my personal behalf, on behalf of IBA, and on behalf of all of you who have gathered here today to listen to her. Once again, and on a Sunday, when she has taken trouble to be here with us, have flown today morning, early morning flight she took from Delhi to be here with us. Once again, my sincere thanks to you, ma'am, on behalf of myself and on behalf of all of us. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Dear distinguished members, I thank you all for your participation and cooperation in the smooth conduct of today's program. We invite our honorable chief guest of honor, and managing committee members to proceed for lunch at the Gulmohar Banquet Hall. Chief executives, MDs, and CEOs of other banks to join us for lunch at the Jacaranda Banquet Hall. Other members and press to join us for lunch at the pre-function area. Thank you once again. This is your host, Lira Alfonso, signing off. I request you to kindly follow safety norms and take good care of yourselves.
Mm-hmm.